the members of the Columbia Association to order. It's 7:05. Just to remind everyone that this meeting is being live streamed. The agenda and the background information is available on the CA Board webpage. And I would encourage everyone to follow along with those documents. Please remember to mute your mic unless you're actually speaking. Be courteous to each other. When you do speak, please state your name so everyone knows who is speaking. Speak clearly and slowly so that everyone can hear you. And for the board members in particular, please use the chat feature. And just in case I can't see all of you at the same time. So what I'd like to do now is take the row of members. Janet.
Here.
Lynn.
Here.
Renee.
Here.
Jenny. I know she was here.
Somebody, your mute's working really well. Jenny, hit *6 on the phone to unmute.
Actually, did that. Here. Hello?
Here.
Jess.
Here.
Alan.
Here.
Shari. I think I saw Shari.
Oh, here.
Tina.
Here.
Dick.
Here.
Andy, he's here. All right. I would like a motion to approve the agenda. Would someone so move?
So
This
moved.
is Renee, so move.
I'll second.
And Dick seconded. Any discussion? Is there any objection? No? Okay. Thank you very much. Move on now to resident speak out. And we do have some residents. And the first one is Anna Cortez. Anna, are you there?
Yes, hi, good evening, and thank you for allowing me to, thank you. It's actually my first time joining, and I hope to be able to actually maybe be part of this more often. So I live on Elias Oak Road. I've lived in Columbia since 1996. And so recently, my whole neighborhood and I became we became aware of the county's plans, the county executive's plans to build or to put a fire station at Cedar Lane Park East, which is along 108 across from the new mosque. And we were quite alarmed because we only found out about this in March. We never previously received any type of information from the county or anything. And I received something in the mail stating that there was a meeting coming up, a Zoom meeting. Many other neighbors were able to join in and find out all these news that, again, we hadn't heard about previously. A few of us were able to actually ask questions and state what our concerns were. We were taken aback by the fact that, again, there was no previous type of communication with the community, with this community. There was no due process as far as we're concerned. There was lack of transparency as far as, the county wanting to put this fire station there. And again, we were all just really shocked by those news. No one really believes that it's a good site for the fire station. It's a green space that we all enjoy. there aren't that many green spaces left, for the public to enjoy, and we want to preserve that. Of course, this park is right on 108, and they are again planning, or they're wanting to build this fire station right off 108, which, as you all know, I'm sure, that 108 is a very busy, it has turned into a very, very busy road without a shoulder in most areas. And actually, this particular area is the narrowest part around here. And there are traffic backups all the time. So we are not understanding why they would choose this particular place when fire trucks, fire engines would likely have issues navigating through traffic that is stalled. There's no shoulder for anyone to get out of the way. We know that in more recent years there's been many more accidents on 108. So we think that this would be unsafe for, of course, the fire engines, the firemen, and of course anyone on the road. And again, we as citizens of this community, we're very concerned about the fact that we were not advised of these possible plans, and we've gotten together with many community members just to talk about our concerns, and we definitely, want to make sure that we preserve this beautiful park. I mean, you see everyone from children to, more senior folks there playing sports, exercising. You see people gathering with their families for their annual family celebrations, birthdays, all sorts of wonderful events that take place there. And for the community to lose this precious resource, it's not something that we look forward to. We really are looking for your support, again, especially because there has been a lack of due process.
And you need to wrap it up, please.
Okay, so again, we really are just looking for that support from everyone, and we would like for the Howard County, for the county to look for a different site for this fire station that doesn't take precious parkland.
Well, thank you, Ann. Let me ask, any board members have any questions?
I put my name in the chat, Andy, like you asked.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, by the way, there are 4 other fire stations within 1.2 to 4.2 miles: Banneker, Meriwether, Tamar Drive, and Clarksville.
Alan?
Yeah, let me just, I normally try to be clear that I'm not making speeches, and I'll try not to make a speech on this, but just to be clear, since this is in my village. Residents came to the village board the other day, and the village board listened to them and agreed to write a letter in support of the concerns about lack of process. The board decided not to weigh in on the specific pros or cons of the location, but was very concerned about the process. And the residents asked me, they said, we're interested in coming to CA, and I suggested to them that if they were stuck with questions about process, I mean, whether it's the right site or not is an open question, but if they stuck with questions about process, that we might have an interest as a board in supporting them.
Yes, and again, there have not been any type of traffic studies or, because the Parks and Rec also wants to remove the natural fields and replace them with turf, with tall, bright lights and a press box. We were told that games would continue until 10:30 p.m. So there hasn't been any type of studies again, as far as the additional traffic for the fire station, activity would cause, in a sense. And we are in support of a fire station, just not at this particular park, or any park for that matter. We want to keep our green space, which again, there's not a whole lot left for the public to have access to.
Thank you, Ann. We appreciate calling. Dick, do you have a question?
Yes, I'd like to know just what specific action she'd like us to take. Is there a letter written, or what exactly does she want us to do?
Well, we definitely would like, your group to possibly write to the county executive, to the county council members, and relay the concerns of the community. And it's not just our particular neighborhoods on either side of the park, but we have spoken to many people outside of the park area, and also at the park itself when there's soccer games, lacrosse games for children, and we've spoken to at least a couple hundred parents over the last several weekends, and no one was aware of this. Everyone kept saying they want to keep their park, they love the park, they enjoy going there to the park to watch their kids play on natural grass fields as well. So again, it's not just our community specifically here, but many Howard County residents. We do have a petition on change.org, and currently we are close to 1,100 signatures on that.
Thank you, Anna.
People, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Anna, for joining us tonight. And we're going to move on to the next resident speak out, which is Ahmed El Said. I hope I got that right. Are you with us tonight?
I'm not sure if he's on. I believe that an urgent matter may have come up with his family, so he may not be on.
Okay. All right. Well, if he comes later, we'll listen. Next up, we have Ian Kennedy. Welcome, Ian.
Hi. Well, good evening, members of the Columbia Council. Congratulations on the beginning of your term as the Board of Directors of the Columbia Association, the most important civic institution serving the city of Columbia, Maryland. And thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. This has been a profoundly challenging year for all of us, and the repercussions of it will be felt for many more to come. And I'm coming to you, however, not with grievances or to second-guess decisions made by previous boards, but rather with the same hopeful and optimistic spirit that is a hallmark of the city we call home. Of all the challenges and opportunities facing the Columbia Association, perhaps the most important is the matter of governance. While the leadership and governance structure of CA has often been a topic of considerable discussion and debate over the last 50 years, attempts at reforming it beyond the transfer to community control in the early 1980s have languished. And now the conversations about reforming governance and elections, once one that gripped many Columbians, is largely non-existent. This is unfortunate because the Byzantine, balkanized nature of Columbia's elections, the paper distinction between the Columbia Council and the CA Board, CA's ongoing struggle to define itself, and other inherent challenges within this structure combine to create a system that is not as inclusive or representative of Columbia's residents and stakeholders as it should be. The structure we have was created largely out of expedience, and it's now time to create one with intention. As described in CA's FY22 budget, the organization is in the midst of a profound transformation, the results of which will become evident in 3 to 4 years with a, quote, repositioned CA. To go through such a transformation, one that will affect many aspects of life in Columbia without the input of a broad, diverse spectrum of people, perspectives, and experiences, is to do a disservice to us all, the Columbia's founding vision and its future. And Columbia indeed was founded on the idea that our diversity could be our greatest strength if we had an environment that nurtured and celebrated it. We need that strength now more than ever. As the body tasked with managing such an important institution in uncertain times, I hope you'll consider as a top priority establishing a formal, inclusive process to study Columbia's governance structure and to make recommendations for reforming it. If CA is truly to be transformed, to have its many layers peeled back, examined, and potentially discarded, it is imperative that all of Columbia's residents and stakeholders have meaningful opportunities to engage with and shape that process and its outcomes. I'm cognizant of my time limit, but I'd be remiss if I didn't say I'm happy to be of service in whatever capacity I can, and I say that sincerely. I don't have all the answers or even most of them, but I want CA and Columbia to be the best that they can be. There's a lot more I can say about this, but I do have one other idea that I want to share with you with my remaining seconds, which is that I think you should partner with local breweries to sell beer at pools. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight.
Thanks, Ian. Let's see, Dick, you have a question?
Yes, Ian. As you know, we had an election recently where some of these issues were raised, and I think the people spoke pretty adequately on where they were on this. If you have any specific suggestions as to what we should do differently, I would suggest you write something up and send it to us with some actual ideas.
Well,
Alan? Oh, Ian? Any?
I was just going to say, you know, there used to be an organization called the Columbia Forum. Actually, the Columbia Association itself sponsored it for many years. And it brought together residents to think about these big, challenging issues. And the Columbia Forum pretty much went extinct 30 years ago. And like I said, I don't have all the answers, and I shouldn't have all the answers. There can be a process that involves people to think about these issues in a meaningful way. And that's what I'm arguing for. You told me to write something up. I wrote it up and I presented it.
Alan?
Yeah, Ian, you mentioned return to community control or the turnover to community control back in the 80s. I'm curious about your thoughts, reactions, feelings about Howard Hughes's recent message to their shareholders saying that they're looking to have monopoly control over the cities they're in.
That's not entirely relevant to the point that I'm trying to make, but I will say that I saw that PowerPoint. Obviously, it made the rounds on social media. I think that it is a reflection of actually the Rouse Company. I think that was a mindset that the Rouse Company put in place in the 60s when they created the idea of Columbia, when they enacted the legislation that would allow them to control the development of Columbia pretty much wholesale for the amount of time that they held the property here, as well as the institutions of Columbia that they created. You know, I mean, I don't think that corporate monopoly control over a city is beneficial or is the right thing to do, but I don't think that is what was implied by the Howard Hughes PowerPoint. But also, you know, I'm not here to defend Howard Hughes. I'm here to talk about an opportunity to create a structure within the Columbia Association that engages more people in the future of this city, because we did have elections, and by and large, the turnout was as small as it has been for decades. And I don't think that is a resounding rejection or support of either side of anyone who is involved in that conversation. I think that the lack of turnout is indicative of a community that is not meaningfully engaged with the institution that was created to serve it.
Lynn? Lynn, you're muted.
I'm muted.
Lynn, you're still off the mic. Okay.
Now
Lynn?
your second one left.
What
Well,
was?
okay, Lynn.
All right. Anyway, well, thank you, Ian. I really do agree with you on these points. I think we do have an opportunity now. We've had opportunities before, but I think it's come to more of a, public, at least a public opportunity now where more people are engaged. We do need to look at the structure of the Columbia Association, at the structure of the board. Absolutely. It is cumbersome and people don't understand it. We've interpreted it and reinterpreted it over the years. So, no, and it definitely should be a community process. So I would look forward to working with the community in doing this in a positive way. The negativity of the campaign to me was horrifying. So I would hope that we would turn around and try to work together for a common good, because this we do need.
Lynn, do you have any question or? No. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thanks, Ian. Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
guys.
That's all I had signed up for resident speak out. If Ahmed shows up, we'll let him speak. I'd like to move on now to the approval of the minutes. And before to do that, I just want to say, I apologize. I lost connection, the computer for a couple minutes there at the beginning, but everything seems to be restored. So, is there a motion to approve the minutes from May 14th, 2020?
This is Renee. I move to approve the minutes.
Second, Ginny.
Jenny. All right, any discussion? Any objection to the approval of the minutes? No. All right, they are approved. Okay, next item of business is the election of the 10 directors. And I believe all of you have seen in your packet the resolution. Is there a motion to approve that resolution?
This is Renee. Oh, there goes Jenny. I second.
All right. Second, Jenny, Renee.
We'll take turns.
All right. Any discussion on the motion to elect the 10 directors? Okay. Any objection to that resolution? No. Seeing none, it passes. So we have the 10 new directors now. And welcome, Tina, as a director. That actually completes the annual meeting. So I'm going to adjourn, and we will then go right into the organizational meeting. Okay, I'll call the organizational meeting together. It's 7:28. I've kind of already told you what the rules are. Please remember to mute your mics unless you're speaking. And I do have to officially take the roll call of the directors again. So we'll start. Tina.
Good evening, everyone. I'm here.
Good. Alan.
Here.
Shari.
Here.
Janet.
Here.
Dick.
Present.
Renee.
Here.
Lynn.
Here.
Jess.
Here.
Jenny.
Here.
Lakey.
Yeah.
Andy, he's here. All right, thank you very much. Okay, next item is approval of the agenda. Hopefully you've all had a chance to look at the agenda. Is there a motion? Okay, Jenny moved to approve the agenda.
Renee.
Second
Renee.
from Tina.
Well, Tina seconded. Go Tina.
Tina, okay, Tina. Any discussion? All right. Any objection from our board members? No. All right. Motion is approved. Okay, the next item we're moving on to is election of the chair and vice chair. Are there nominations for the position of chair?
I'm raising.
Okay,
Lynn?
Lynn.
Oh, okay. I would like to nominate Janet Evans.
A second.
Any other nominations? If not, then I would like to congratulate Janet on her election as chair. And now I get the privilege of turning it over to Janet to run the rest of the meeting. So thank you very much. And Janet, welcome and good luck.
Thank you, Andy, for everything you've done, and I will apologize in advance for not being good at this. So now we move on to the nomination for a vice chair.
I'd like to nominate Ginny Thomas.
I'd like to second it.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Is there anyone else who intends to nominate for vice chair? Okay, then congratulations, Ginny. You are... Sorry?
Just an irrelevant point of order that nominations don't have to be seconded.
Oh, good to know. Thank you. So if there are no other nominations, then congratulations, Ginny. You are now vice chair.
Thank you. Can we just say one or two things about Andy? And thank him for all the work he's done. Andy, you were fantastic. Dedicated your life to the CA board and did an excellent job. And the board just wants to thank you for everything. And we could go on and on and on, but we'll take the whole meeting. So just thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Well, thank you all for that. And I'm actually looking forward to a little bit more relaxation here with somebody else's chair. So, but thanks.
Okay, so next up are appointments to committees. So let's start with the audit committee. Are there board members that are interested in being part of the audit committee?
This is
I'd like to volunteer for that as Dick.
Okay, so I see Renee, Dick.
Janet, I'd like
Janet, can we just get a refresher on what the audit committee does?
I was going to say, as a point of information, my understanding is that this is one of the only committees that has some requirements. So I think Jackie Tuma is ready to say a few words about kind of framing this one in particular.
That would be great. Jackie?
Sure. Hi, everyone, and welcome, Tina. I'll just take a couple minutes and just start with reading directly from the Audit Committee Charter, which states that the purpose of the Audit Committee is to assist the Board of Directors in fulfilling its oversight responsibilities for the financial reporting process, the system of internal control, the audit process, and the ethics program. So with these responsibilities in mind, continuity of its members and financial acumen is all very important. So again, coming from the charter, which states along those lines, it is strongly preferred that any board member with financial expertise serve on the audit committee. In addition, at least one board committee member should remain consistent from year to year. So fortunately, we do have a number of board members that meet these criteria. And please know that regardless of whether you're on the committee, all board members are certainly welcome to attend the meetings. And all board members will also receive meeting agendas and supporting documents. And just a final note is that the audit committee meets 5 times for each fiscal year, 4 quarterly meetings that coincide with the quarterly financial statements, and a 5th meeting where you meet with the independent auditors to review the results of the annual audits of CA's financial statements and its 401k incentive savings plan. Very occasionally, there will be an ad hoc meeting in order to address this particular issue. So that's it in a nutshell.
Thank you, Jackie.
You're welcome.
Okay, with that in mind, is there anyone who would like to change their decision or add their name to the list to be considered?
Andy is interested.
Yes, I have.
Okay.
So we do have 3 people on it, correct, Andy, or 2?
We have 3 people on right now.
Okay.
You, Renee, and Dick.
Oh, right. Okay. Okay, so right now I have Renee, Dick, and Andy. Is there anyone else who's interested in audit?
Jess, were you interested? Yeah, okay.
Not particularly.
Just asking.
If financial acumen is a requirement, I'll sit back.
Okay, so congratulations, Renee, Dick, and Andy. You are now members of the audit committee. Okay, so let's move on to risk management committee. Do I have anyone who is interested in participating in the risk management? Do we have a similar statement? Susan, are you able to provide a summary?
Yeah, I should do that, yes. So the Risk Management Committee is responsible for the oversight of CA's general liability program. So CA is self-insured for the first $1 million of general liability exposure, and the Risk Management Committee oversees that program. The committee meets generally 4 times a year. It also has a resident expert who is an industry expert on the committee to just to provide that additional level of competency and knowledge. Committee's a little bit different from the others in that the chair is the vice president, CFO, and the president and CEO. Both of those positions are voting members of the committee. And there are, in the current year, for FY21, Jess Duval, Lynn Egan, and Nancy McCord were the members.
Thank you. Alan, are you volunteering for that committee, or are you?
No, I have a question, and you may have just answered it, but I wasn't quite clear. It lists secretary. Is that the secretary of the committee, or is that the secretary of CA? So that's whoever is in that position sits on that committee.
The secretary of the committee.
So it could be anybody.
Right.
Thank you. Well, okay. When I was served on that committee in the past, when we used to do a different way of selecting members, it seemed to me that Sherry Fanneroff served not just as secretary, but it was in her position as attorney that seemed important to me. Was that just a happenstance that she happened to be our attorney as well, or is it important for our attorney to be part of the risk management committees?
So the general counsel as a position is not included in the membership of the committee per the charter or the rules of the risk management committee. But the general counsel generally participates and attends in the meeting to be able to add advice and counsel and to review the matters. So, and because that person generally came, and I just, rather than me be the secretary and take the minutes, she did it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Tina, are you volunteering for risk management, or did you have a question?
I wanted to get a reminder, please, of the expectations of individual board members as far as how many committees should we each be volunteering for if we're going to spread the work roughly equally?
So I think the top.
I'm assuming that that's a goal, but I'm sure.
It is not a requirement, but it is certainly strongly recommended. And so I would say out of the entire board, the 3 committees where it's ideal to have board members distributed are Audit Committee, Risk Management, and Inter Arbor Trust. And then we have a number of advisory committees that each board member is responsible for participating. I believe there are 10 committees, so each board member participates in one committee. And please, anyone correct me if I'm mistaken.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lynn, did you have a question?
I'll lower my hand.
Okay. So do I have anyone who would be interested in serving on the Risk Management Committee?
If no one will do it, I will be glad to volunteer. Let somebody else take a turn.
I can serve again.
Okay, Jess. And Tina, I did want to point out to you that out of the three of these committees, that risk management is, I think, generally the lowest commitment in terms of, there's no pre-work, and they tend to meet a little less frequently. So if you are interested in participating in a committee, that's probably a good one to start with, because it gives you some good insight into things that are going on with the organization without a huge commitment on your part, like we're having to know a whole bunch of stuff. Did I sell
appreciate that guidance very, very much. Well, I was going to add my name as long as we all understand that I have zero experience with risk management, and so you will be completely breaking in a newbie in this regard.
I think that's
an opportunity.
That's not. I don't want to be alive to the organization in my ignorance. I mean, I'd have to do a catching up.
Susan, you do not see that as a liability, correct?
No, and, I think, we have a nice orientation, we have material, and I think we'll be fine.
Okay, I'm happy to.
Thank you.
Where's somebody else to volunteer so I don't have to do two of these committees?
Yeah, Alan, are you interested in risk management?
It's a half an hour before the regular board meetings.
As a topic or as a committee?
As a committee.
I haven't served on it in a while. I will go ahead and bite the bullet. Unless that's a big risk.
All right, so Tina, Jess, and Alan, congratulations. You are now members of the Risk Management Committee. Okay, so next up is Inner Arbor Trust. Do we have volunteers for Inner Arbor Trust?
Oh, I do.
And Sherry.
I'll volunteer.
Thank you. So through the nature of our agreement with Inner Arbor Trust is that we have 3 board members, one of which is always the president and CEO. So Reiki has become part of that committee, and then Lynn and Sherry. Okay. So I believe that is those are all of the committees and Inner Arbor Trust. So next on the agenda is the reappointment of officers of the Columbia Association.
Janet.
We have all those board liaisons to the advisory committees.
Do we do
we have
that
the
tonight?
advisory committees.
Do we do that all tonight? Okay.
Yeah,
I thought we signed up ahead of time. Or I mean, I thought we signed up separately from that.
We sort of say what we're interested in and then see if there's competition, then maybe figure out how we work it out later maybe.
Okay. Why don't I call your name and you tell me what committee you're interested in, and then if we have a duplicate, then we'll duke it out. Sound good? Okay. Sherry.
Yeah, I would like to stick with Watershed Advisory Committee. That's okay with folks. We're involved in a couple of long-range projects and such, and it's a great committee to work with. So, yeah, I'll stick with them.
Okay. Ginny?
I would like to stick with the Climate Change and Sustainability Advisory Committee for actually the same reason Sherry's talking about several projects we're working on, and I think some will be an overlap with the Watershed Committee, so we can sort of work together on some issues. I'm also interested because there are 12 committees and some board members serve on 2. Since I'm not serving on these other things, I'd be very interested in serving on the International and Multicultural Advisory Committee. In the past, I served on the Aquatics Advisory, but I'd be interested in doing the International Multicultural Advisory Committee.
And just keep in mind, everyone, if someone has already claimed one that you're interested in, we can have a conversation about it. This is not a done deal. Dick?
Yes, I'm on the Health and Fitness Committee. I'd like to stay with that.
Hey, Lynn?
Hey, I can stay with the Golf Advisory Committee. Again, I think we're probably going to start having some issues in that area coming up. So,
Hey, Tina, does anyone have a list of these that I could share on the screen so that Tina could see what's available?
I'm looking at it on the website. Is that the right list?
Okay, great. So I'm so glad you're on top of it.
Yeah, they're in the packet there under the
Oh, sorry.
appointment
I
of
didn't
directors
scroll
to
down.
board committee worksheet that everybody got
Oh, yeah, I have
at
it.
the bottom of the
Sorry.
page.
Yes, I got it. Okay.
I can read what's left if you want, or,
No, I can see it now. I just didn't scroll down.
okay.
Tina, is there one of those that interests
I
you?
don't want to step on. I don't want to step on toes, but the middle school advisory committee is that looks thrilling.
Okay.
But I don't.
That would be
seriously, I don't
fine.
want to step on toes.
Because I think I'm on that one, Tina, and that would be fine. But I would like to, in exchange, possibly take the Millennial Advisory Committee if Shari is okay with giving that one up.
That's fine. That's fine. That's a great group to work with. I think it's good that, I was with them to sort of launch that group. And I think they're really ready to move forward. I think you'll really enjoy that, Jess.
Awesome. Okay. All right, Alan?
I'll go with the aquatics.
Hey, Renee?
I'm open to whatever's left over.
Okay.
Well, I'm on the audit committee, and I think that, everybody should get a choice.
Andy?
Andy, you're muted.
Thanks, Dick. I'm not used to that yet. The IT committee hasn't met for a while, so I'm certainly willing to stay on that one. But I was thinking the tennis committee, if nobody has a problem with the tennis committee.
Nope, no problem. Okay, and so that leaves, we have,
The Art Center for you.
yeah, is that the last one? Oh, Senior Advisory.
Senior Advisory and the Arts, Columbia Arts Center, are the two left.
Yeah. Renee, are you willing to stay on the Senior Advisory, or would you prefer Arts?
Like I said, I'm taking the leftover, so you choose.
Okay. Well, I can walk to the Arts Council meetings, so.
Well, that works for you.
All right, so Senior Advisory for you and Arts for me. Just a point of clarification. I'm wondering if we have any guidance on continuity on advisory committees. Is that advised or is that not advised? Or is it, doesn't matter?
It's never really come up, Janet, before. People usually choose a committee that they'd like to work with.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's fine if, because obviously I've been on the art committee for a while, and if someone else was very interested in doing that, then I would be willing to switch, but.
Yeah, if I can just say, in the past, people tried to get on different committees just because they would become more knowledgeable about what was going on in different areas. I think, during a time of transition, it's probably good to have some sense of continuity, and people who have worked on other committees. Like, for example, I've been on the senior advisory committee, and I'm happy to work with anyone on any of these committees just to give some background. So I think we can buddy up if there's anything that comes up as an issue, if there's a need for history on a project or something of that kind, if that makes sense to folks.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
There are also staff members on each committee, so
Right.
they tend to carry the history.
Okay, so thank you, everyone.
Janet?
Yes.
On the committees are going to be reporting, I think it's in July on the board agenda, to the full board. And I think their reports may be due in June, but we need to look at, has a letter been sent to the committees telling them exactly what the dates are, what's due, and some suggestions about what the board would be looking for in terms of their presentations. I'm not sure that's happened. So maybe we could look into that.
Can you take a note of that and just note it as an action item so that we can follow up?
Yeah, I can follow up on that, sure.
And honestly, I personally wonder if we should revisit how we utilize our advisory committees. I feel like, I mean, some invest more time than others, but I feel like maybe we could be getting more information out of them. Dan, did you have a comment on the committees?
Yeah, I was just going to say, we've all shared the information in the report format with the advisory committees, and the advisory committees are currently working on their annual reports.
Oh, thank you, Dan. Okay. So I don't think tonight is the night necessarily to have an involved conversation about that, but I think what I would like to do going forward, I tend to like to use Google Forms because it's an easy way to collect information. And so when we talk about the advisory committees, I may send out a survey just getting people's thoughts so that we can structure some future conversation around what we'd like to see, what each person would like to see from those advisory committees, and whether there's an opportunity for us to restructure. Renee?
Yeah, I was wondering, since a lot of what we're doing right now is virtual, at least for the next few days, if we couldn't find a way to put the advisory committee meetings on a calendar open to the public, and also invite the public into these advisory committee meetings to try to open them up a little bit to some other people.
Yeah, and I think in the past there were advisory committee meetings on the calendar, but I don't think recently.
Yeah, they haven't been on the calendar with a link so people can.
Oh, well, yeah, certainly not the virtual. Well, and I will say that the Art Advisory Committee has not met since COVID started.
Right.
So, virtually or otherwise. Lynn?
Yeah, I think, again, because the committees all meet in different places, just setting them up virtually could be a challenge. I know, for instance, the Gulf Advisory Committee, they're, easily 30 members. In and out. It's a big committee, and I don't know how it might be difficult to set it up. So just commenting on that.
Okay. Well, yeah. So everyone, think about what you would like to see, and then I'm going to get something out to you so that we can gather some information on that.
Okay. Sounds good.
So sorry, I went out of order on the. Oh, sorry, Sherry.
I was just going to throw out another idea that at the beginning of each board session, we kind of look at the strategic, the 5-year strategic plan. And if we can see that there are some issues that we think are going to be coming up this year for examination by the board and examination by the community, it would be good to see if we could link up a charge to these advisory committees that ties in with that particular issue. And so, for example, I know people on Watershed are really concerned about the preservation of green spaces and are looking at the Howard County General Plan and Newtown zoning with, you know, their particular perspective. But that doesn't mean that there aren't other committees that would be equally concerned and would bring in their particular perspective, especially since a lot of these committees have been working together for a number of years. So maybe that's something that we can think about and work on as we're developing these charges in effect for the year.
Yeah, and I wonder then too if that it wouldn't be possible to bring those types of things, you know, have that as an item on the BOC committees, so that if there are things like that coming up, we can enlist the assistance of the advisory. Okay. All right, so I went out of order. We already did Inter Arbor Trusts, so.
We had BOC committee.
Yeah, so, but right before that, appointment to committees. So reappointment of officers of Columbia Association. Andy, can you help me out with that, what that is?
That comes later in the.
It's number
agenda.
6 on the agenda.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so every year we have to appoint the officers for the corporation. You know, by law, every organization has officers, president, vice president, secretaries. And so what you need to do is just, there's a resolution in the packet.
Oh, okay.
So I would just suggest you see if someone will move, second the resolution, and just take a vote.
Yeah.
Basically, it's removing Milton and adding Lakey.
Yeah, if it's okay, I'll move the resolution dated May 13th.
Okay, second.
To appoint the directors, and it lists the exactly who the directors are: Susan, Mary, and Don.
Okay, second.
Oh, actually, so I'm sorry, I'm messing this up. There is also a resolution for the Inter Arbor Trust members that I'm supposed to read too.
Okay, yeah.
I'm having trouble keeping track. Okay, so let's start there. Will someone move? So wait, someone has to move to resolve to do the resolution.
Well, why don't you just vote on the one you have, and then we can go back and do an Arbor Trust.
Yeah, I just moved on the board of the offices,
Right.
and I think it was seconded by somebody.
Lynn.
Lynn.
Yeah, vote on that, and then we can go back.
Okay. Are there any objections to the resolution as stated?
No.
All right. Passes unanimously. Thank you.
So I move that we appoint Sherry and Lynn to the Inter Arbor Trust.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Are there any objections to that resolution?
No.
Okay, unanimous. Thank you.
I think with the BOC that Andy and Janet, the chair just goes ahead and assigns board members to those particular dates. And each two board members serve for each date. So I'm not sure we have to approve.
Well, last year we let everybody pick the dates that they could go because there were some dates people couldn't attend.
Well, but I mean, I think, I think the chair just kind of works on it, and then if you say, I can't make that, you call, and because it happens at the last minute where somebody says, uh-oh, I can't make that, can you sign me to something else? And then you just play around with the dates. But I don't know. Or we could do it tonight, but we don't really have to vote on it. It's just more lining it up.
Would it be agreeable to the board if I just send a list out with folks on it, and then if you don't like your placement, you can let me know?
That's
Or if
terrific.
you make it for some reason, is that okay?
That's terrific.
Because I don't think you
It's
want me to
fine with me. I guess I would like us to be clear about if it, as does happen down the road, we find we can't attend. In the past, we've been sort of ad hoc about it, and I might, whoever I happen to think of, I contact them and say, can you sit in for me?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the process we want, or do we want that to be the chair's prerogative to assign the person, or some other process?
I mean, I personally, Ginny?
Yeah, Andy had me dealing with this, and the reason, Alan, that doesn't work is because then you might have somebody having two shots at the agendas, where it's supposed to be each person gets a chance to have a say about the agendas on the BOC. So you really, in a way, don't want to do that. You want to have, if you can't attend, you want to call, and it would either be the chair or the vice chair, whatever Janet decides, so that we can work around somebody that has not had a chance to be on the BOC, so that we're fair about all 10 members get a chance. So if individuals go pick somebody else, they could wind up with 2 or 3 shots at voting on what the agendas would be, and that wouldn't be fair to the whole board. That's why it was handled that way in the past. Does that make sense?
That makes sense to me, but.
Well, actually, to me, it doesn't make sense, because if you do the math, particularly doesn't make sense for the last meeting, because everybody would have already had their chance. Somebody's going to get a second shot. And secondly, if I can't make it, and nobody else can't, and everybody else is going to make their slot, then I'm going to lose out on my slot, and that's fine. That's my problem, and I deal with the consequences. So, but I guess my real question, I don't have an axe to grind in this. I just want us to be clear, so that when the situation happens, nobody's feeling like we're operating at cross purposes.
Right.
Dick?
Yes, I think it's easy enough, in the interest of simplicity, if you can't make your BOC date, you just pick somebody who will represent you there, and you can swap off or whatever. But to set up a formal process is just a lot of extra time spent by the chair or the vice chair, and we can handle this on our own. Just whoever has the turn there should just be responsible for making sure there's somebody sitting in the chair at that time.
Sherry?
Yeah, I know that the village boards, when they have rotating types of responsibilities of this kind, you just swap with somebody who has not yet participated. So if you're on in, July, and you've got a bunch of people to pick, who have not yet participated, you just swap dates with them. I think if it becomes a difficulty, then that can be referred to the chair, and then you can take it from there, Janet. But I think it's easy enough to swap with someone who has not yet served on the BOC. You just exchange dates.
Yeah.
Lynn, did you have something? Okay, your hand is still raised. Ginny.
I think that's the key, that what Sherry just said, is that we make sure if you swap, you do not swap with somebody that's already had 1 or 2 turns. You swap with somebody that has not had a turn. That's the important thing.
So the sense I'm getting is that we trust each other to find a replacement, and that we do not have to create, and everyone is okay with that dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then I will send out a list, and if you can't make the date that you have from the preliminary list, then we will swap you with somebody, before it all starts. So like that's easy enough. And then as it once we set the calendar, if you can't make it, then please find a replacement. If you have trouble finding a replacement, reach out to me or reach out to Ginny, and we will make sure that we find somebody to take the spot. Okay. So I'm not going to kid you. I'm struggling now to know which agenda I'm on because I have them all open and I'm really confused. And Ellen's telling me like something's on number 4, and I'm like, that's not number 4 on the one I'm looking at. So
We just did it, so we're done with that. We're on to approving the draft schedule of meetings.
Would it be helpful, Janet, to share the agenda on the screen?
Yeah.
I can do that. I mean, I have it up.
yeah, actually, if you would, that would be great because I'm scrolling all over the place and I'm confusing myself.
Yeah, it's just hard to focus on so many things at one time. I get that.
Too many screens. Thank you. Okay, so then
I'm working on it.
Okay.
I thought I had it up here.
So actually, yeah.
So it would be this.
Does she have the ability
to? I can't see that. I actually have that's the agenda.
I got it.
Okay. Do you have the packet open, or
I just got to make sure I have the right one. Okay. There. Does that look right?
Yes, thank you.
Right, because we were up here on.
Yeah, can you scroll down to page 7?
Yeah. This
okay,
thing.
so schedule of work sessions and meetings. So Tina, just for your information, we don't meet in August. And then we usually only have one meeting in November and one meeting in December because of the holidays. All right. Does anybody have any questions about the existing board meetings? And then just please note that there are a couple of extra budget work sessions in there that we will use as needed to to work through some of the budget. And I think, this year there's been a lot of interest in having a more robust budget conversation from the ground up. And so, it's entirely possible that we will be doing those meetings. So,
I've got my name in the chat there.
Yep. Alan?
I'm going to tilt at my annual windmill here. And we historically don't meet in August. We only have half the number of meetings for 2 months in November and December because of holidays. And we constantly complain that we don't have enough time to really have the discussions that we need to have to do the kind of good work we want to do.
Right.
So I just believe we shoot ourselves in the foot by taking this European holiday of August off, and I not that I have anything against Europeans. I think actually if I lived there, that'd be a fine practice. But I just think I think we do ourselves a disservice. So I would rather that we added at least one meeting in August. Or have an earlier meeting in November, something. I mean, so that yes, I understand we're not going to meet on Thanksgiving Day, but I think there are other ways to do our schedule, and we lock ourselves into this, and therefore create our own problem.
Thank you, Renee.
I second that.
Okay.
And we had a meeting in August last year.
Yes.
Right. We still have budget issues that we need to resolve. I think we need an August meeting.
So I will just put this out there. One of my goals this year is to streamline what we focus on so that we ensure that we spend the time that we want on those things like budget that are always behind the 8 ball, and try to minimize the time we spend talking about things that the board as a whole doesn't agree are priorities.
So, and I appreciate that. And I think you and I have talked about that a little bit. But I think it's easier to put a meeting in and then for the board to decide they don't need it. Once the calendar's set, adding a meeting is almost impossible.
Well, I'm not sure I agree with that, but let's get a feel of the board. How many people would like to have at least one additional meeting added to this calendar? Right. Actually, I'm going to do roll call because it's a little bit hard for me to see with the hands. Sherry?
Yeah, I think we're going to need some additional sessions. And I just want to say, particularly looking at this from the board meeting in October, and then we don't have a work session until January. I think that's too big a gap there. So I would prefer to front load an extra meeting in there, working around the holidays, just to make sure that we don't have that much time of a gap.
Can we just focus on whether we're having extra meetings and then we'll decide, then we'll have to figure out when.
Okay, I would be in favor.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Ginny?
One extra meeting.
Dick?
Yes, I think we need an extra meeting, probably in August.
Okay, Lynn?
Agree.
Tina?
I am agnostic.
Okay. Totally fair. Jess?
I'm fine with one or two.
Alan, I know where you stand. I'll just put your yes in.
I'm agnostic as well, but on this issue, I do agree.
Okay. And Renee, yes. Andy?
I'll be different. I'll say no.
Andy is not in favor. And Lakey, I'd like you to weigh in on this one too.
I would vote no. My understanding is that from the staff side, the break from, as everyone understands, there's a lot of staff preparation for these sessions depending on the issues on the agenda. Obviously, that's our duty and responsibility, but my understanding was the staff did appreciate having that timing off.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is that we would like to figure out a way to have at least one, if not two additional meetings. I think this is going to, I guess, so again, Andy, I'm sorry to keep calling on you, but help me out here. So I don't know if this is the appropriate time to have that type of conversation since we're talking about board operations. If we, I mean, I think I'd like folks to think about it a little bit more before we have that discussion, but if this is the appropriate time, then I don't want to curtail the conversation.
Janet, you're right. You could easily do this at the BOC. I mean, it sounds like the board is interested in having at least one more meeting. And I've heard, suggestions, either do that in August or do it November, December. And I think what you need to do, and I'll tell you, November, December makes sense to me just in a sense because it is a long time without a work session.
Mm-hmm.
And you could probably find a date in there that might work. You can choose now or you can do it at the BOC, and the BOC is coming up June 1st or something. It's really soon.
Okay. Renee?
Yeah, okay. I'm not sure when you want to have the meeting, but I think that I appreciate you want to hand it over to the BOC, but I think the board needs to become more agile here. And going long stretches without, pardon?
That's what I was going to say as well.
Yeah, and going long stretches without meeting and then having BOCs only once a quarter, we are like dinosaurs here. And we've got to make some choices and become agile and be flexible and start picking out goals and working towards things. So I don't care where you pick it up and do it. I mean, one thing that's, near and dear to my heart is budgeting. And I'm not sure, I mean, I see dates, but I think if, that there needs to be a meeting of the minds as to how we're going to do this budgeting this year, and not wait for the staff to tell us what their priorities are, but for us to determine what the community's priorities are with the community. And last year there was no community input.
Right. Okay. So, I think we have opportunities here that can provide a break for most of August. Like, for instance, if we did the first Thursday of August or something like that. So I'm gonna what I'd like to propose is I will come up with several suggestions and get input from the board on that in terms of what makes sense. I'm supportive of the staff getting a break because I know that these meetings require quite a bit of coordination from them. So let's see that if we can come up with alternative dates that would add into that, and potentially either beginning or end of August, like, so that would still leave a gap but allow for that meeting. And then look at the November, December timeframe and see if we have some opportunities there. So, Alan?
It's also possible that we could create a meeting, because I am mindful of the staff burden on the staff. We could create a meeting that's more work session and discussion among the board.
Mm-hmm.
And Lakey would attend because she's a board member, but we wouldn't necessarily need a lot of staff preparation for it if we had the topics that we wanted to discuss outlined well.
That's a good point.
And I think one other thing is that at some point, some of the board members need to sit down with staff, Lakey, whoever we decide, and figure out a budgeting process over several months, not just whatever, with dates where we bring in the villages and people in the community to hear what they're looking for prior to the staff coming up with numbers, so we can direct the staff this year what we think the community wants versus the staff telling us what they think the community wants.
Sounds like good retreat material, Renee.
Okay.
All right. Any other comments on that? So are you all okay with me sending out a survey of like multiple dates? And
Yes.
then, okay. So you're going to be getting a few surveys.
Survey monkey.
Yeah. No, I do Google Forms because I find it easier, but
They're all the same.
however, I will. Okay. And then I will offer, you can put your comments in that form as well, so that if you have, if you don't feel like it represents what you were thinking, then you can. Okay. Is that the end of this packet, or is there more, or is it just dates after that, Jess? As we go down that.
That's it.
That's it. Okay.
Some
I
guidelines.
think that's it. Yeah.
You
Okay,
have
so
the whole thing.
all right. So that is the end of this discussion. May I have a motion to adjourn this organization?
So moved. So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All right, any objections?
No.
All right, so adjourned. Okay, moving on to the Columbia Council Annual Meeting. So I call the meeting to order at 8:19. May I have a motion?
Doesn't Andy actually have to do that since he's still the,
Oh, I don't know.
until we.
Oh, that's right, Andy, you're back on. You're back on.
All right. All right.
Thank you, Alan. Good point.
I'll call the meeting to order here at 8:19 for the Columbia Council. Skip the procedures, that I'll just take the roll call. Janet?
Here.
Dick?
Here.
Jess?
Here.
Alan?
Here.
Renee?
Here.
Tina?
Here.
Lynn?
Here.
Dick?
Yeah, you called me already.
Oh, Jenny?
Here.
Sorry. Shari?
Here.
Andy? Here. Okay. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Moved. So moved.
Janet and I think Jenny?
Yes.
Any objection? Hearing no objections, the agenda is approved. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Janet? Jenny and Janet? Is there any discussion, any objection to the approval of the minutes? All right. Appointment of the Columbia Council Chair and Vice Chair. We have a resolution. Is there a motion to approve resolution which would have the board chair and vice chair service the chair and vice chair of the Columbia Council? Somebody want to move that resolution?
So moved.
Liz.
I'll second it. Dick.
Dick. All right. Any discussion? Any objection to that? Hearing none, I'll turn it back over now to Janet. She can close out the meeting.
Okay. Fastest meeting ever.
Thanks, Janet.
May I have thank you, Andy. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. This is Renee.
Second.
All right.
Seconded.
Any objection?
Nope.
Okay, so we will adjourn this meeting and we will regroup in the closed meeting that was sent out earlier.
Now, can we do it now or do we have to wait?
Go directly to it.
I believe that there's a second sign-up number.
Right.
There is, but is there any reason we have to wait until the time that it says? Or
There's no resident speak out or anything, so we don't need to inform anybody.
Yeah, is there any, Lakey, is there any additional staff
As
that?
far as I know, no, but I was gonna say, Drew or Sam, it's a completely separate meeting invitation as everybody has indicated. So I believe if y'all log in that it is open.
Okay.
Drew or Sam, have any?
Right. Janet?
Okay,
Yes.
Janet?
Okay, Janet, it's Janet Loughran, and I wanted to let you know that you need, for privacy purposes, you must close out this open meeting.
Correct.
Everybody must get off, and then you must reconvene with the different set of Google Meet credentials that were sent just to the 10